Was that last week?
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Hi, good morning. Today is August 29th, 2019. It's 5 after 10. We're beginning today's work session. If we could stand for the pledge.
All rise.
Sean, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely, Supervisor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we are starting today's meeting. We had a few changes to the agenda, and we are starting with the refunding of the bonds. Bill, if you'd like to come up and join us.
Can I just confirm that the first meeting item will be put off for next week?
Yes, we referred it to the Ethics Board for review, and asked them to do it in a timely manner, so I have not heard back from our attorney covering, ethics, so they will hopefully get back to me today and let me know when they are going to meet.
I will be asking the majority of the board to put that on for next week. So when I find out whether the majority will put it on for next week, I will let you know. Thank you very much. Have a great day, folks.
Thank you.
Bye.
All
How you
right.
doing, Bill? How you doing, my
So
friend?
we have a resolution up here for refunding of, bonds.
No, there's
that-
no refunding going on.
And it's timely to refund them for, if we refund them this year before the 15th of October, then we will realize savings, within this year of, I think, up to almost $83,000. So Bill, I'll let you review them.
Okay, so there's bonds from 2011 that are eligible to be refunded. In doing so, we'll save about $1.1 million over the terms of the remaining amount of those bonds, and roughly $83,000 this year, and about the same every year. The cash flow savings throughout the rest of those bonds will be $1.149 million, based on estimates of what we can go out and sell bonds for now. So the interest rate is lower than when we originally bonded for them, which typically happens because the long-term rates are always longer. After 8 years, you can prepay bonds. After 10 years, you prepay them without a penalty. So we are prepaying the 2011 bonds. What happens is it goes into an escrow, and those bonds get paid with that fund, so we're only paying the new bonds on them. This was an opportunity to save about $83,000 a year overall.
For how many years?
Those bonds. For bonds, it's
For the
gonna be for the next 10 to 12 years, some of the, because the bonds are all staggered, what we borrowed back then, how many years they were, and then how long we can refund them for.
So we'll have 83,000 extra this year, and then next year that'll be factored into the budget where the 83,000 will be absorbed to
Yeah.
offset a tax increase.
Correct.
Okay, we've done this before, so.
No,
Makes
yeah.
sense.
Couple years
We do it every
ago.
couple of
Yeah.
years, yeah, yep, yep.
And we also refunded last year.
Any particular bonds that we're worried about? No.
No.
And then we're also going out for bonding.
Yeah, so the other one we're going out, we spoke about it, I don't know if it was last work session or the one before, was the street lighting bonds. This is where we're actually going in and finish, replacing all the LED lights, which is gonna save us money. The payback period is actually a little bit less than 5 years, so we'll show savings, even though we're only bonding the $1 million for 5 years. We're saving, I think, $251,000 a year, and the bond's about $230 a year.
Oh.
So we'll still save currently $20,000 a year, and in 5 years, the bonding goes away.
So that'll be about
And-
$250,000 savings every year after that for the lights, which is an
Right, and
additional
whether
15
it's 15 to
years.
20 years, those LEDs, and then we'll have to start replacing them going
That's terrible.
forward, but,
I hate 'em.
so we'll have a lot of savings
Get
even for,
I hate them.
They save us money.
Good.
Yeah, well, we could only afford to do, I think, 1,100 out of the 3,400 that we
Almost
had,
answered the
so.
overall.
yeah,
Make
we
sure
have
that
done,
it's wrong.
so we have done, this is maybe 2/3 of what's left. We did a
Yep.
third by every year putting money away and doing what we could, but we're
Without
now-
bonding.
But
right,
to do
without-
it this way, you see the savings. So the savings is in the lights going up and using the new lights. So instead of taking 5 years to do these lights and really realizing the savings in the each year, a little bit of savings, we receive the savings immediately and will continue, further out.
Right,
Okay.
we've already received the savings on the 1,100 lights that we've already replaced with LED.
Correct.
So this, and I think it took 2.5 years to get those done, so
This is
it
money
did
well
take us.
This is twice as long, it's gonna take twice as long.
Jim, I'll let you talk before I finish. Do you have something
Oh,
to say?
you let me? Oh, I
Yeah.
really appreciate
Because I was talking and you were talking too,
Oh,
so
I
I
thought you
figured
were
I'd let
finished.
you finish.
I will not say another word.
Okay. So the only concern that I have is that, I did receive a phone call from NIPA, and they did come in and go over the numbers that we had gotten from the contractor from the Brookhaven bid, and some things were not included in that bid that they had done for us, such as the fusing. I think that there was a charge of $35 per fixture to exchange and replace, but there was no dumping charges that were included in that, and the dismantling of the existing lights. So I think that we really need to look at the contractor and make sure that the $1 million that, of the estimate that we got includes everything, because in comparing other bids for Southampton and in talking to the street lighting division in Brookhaven, it appears that the numbers had jumped up by 20% after a 2-year period, and they were renegotiating those costs.
The numbers
So-
for what jumped up?
For the street lighting, because they didn't complete all the street lighting within the 2 years, and then the supplier jumped up the prices
Well,
20%.
that's why we're bonding it this year, so that we can get it all under the contract price of this year, which ends in December. So we would purchase all the equipment this year with the bonding under the current contract, which is the rate that Ernesto.
Right, but the
figured
cost of $1 million, in my calculation, after Tim and I had met with NIPA, it appears that it might be closer to $1.5 million. So I just wanna hammer out those numbers and make sure that the cost of $35 to actually pull up, take the fixture down, put the new fixture up, take the existing fixture, dismantle it, throw it into separate containers as to what's recyclable and what's not, that all of that is included in the $35 per fixture cost that was in the spreadsheet that Ernesto gave us.
We'll have Ernesto come back in and
That's
go over
next
it.
year.
Good.
Didn't Ernesto and Drew do this?
Yes, yeah.
And Ernesto worked with the company and talked through all these details, so I
So-
mean, he's very well versed in
Yeah,
this.
I feel comfortable putting it on next week when Tim is here.
We can ask him when he comes in.
I would like, cause I'm,
They've been
cause,
working on it for some time, so I definitely trust,
Yeah.
and they've been talking to the contractor.
sure, yeah. So Tim had some questions too, and I would just like to wait until next week to have that discussion, cause we both took notes during the meeting with NIPA, and if we have until the end of December to do it, we're in August, I don't see what what holding it off
Well, this
another
is the
week
bond
to
out
where
together, isn't it?
we can get all of our questions answered.
Sure.
But I feel confident that they included that. Drew and Ernesto are very
Yeah.
Competent at this.
Well, I don't
and
have any-
thorough,
So the one thing, even though we did the authorization for the bonds, we like to go out and bond by a certain time period in order to make the savings on the refunding. If we throw the initial bonding for street lighting and the refunding together, we save some costs on the bond issuance costs.
So there
So
is
that's all,
yeah,
yeah.
so there is the time factor to it, so we can ask Ernesto and we can have him come back and repeat it next week.
So I'd rather just do it next week rather than wasting time and discussing it with the four of us and having him come back. Because I would also like my notes to refer to, and I would like the representative from NIPA to sit in the audience and verify all the information also.
But this would then reduce our savings when we go out for bonding for them together, and the bonding together needs to happen.
I don't think
The
a week
bond-
is gonna
bonding
make a
for- the-
difference.
The
It will
bonding,
make a
the
difference.
bonding for the refunding needs to happen, I forget the date, I have it in my notes, but needs to happen so that we can go and do the refunding before our November 15th payment is due.
Right, so if we
Okay.
don't pass that resolution,
Well, if we pass the refunding, then we'll save that, but if we don't pass the street lighting, then we'll have to duplicate some of the bonding.
so, and how much would that cost the town
I'll-
to
I'll-
duplicate some of that? So there'll be a
So-
cost incurred
Yeah.
from
So
that.
you're saying November 15th is the deadline that we would
No.
have to adopt
No, that's
those
when
resolutions?
that's when we have to bond, so I'll back down, I'll send everyone an email, what time we have to have everything, or what date we have to have everything approved. If we pass, we have to get the whole process going, you have the 30 days and so forth, so if that process is going, we can still go bond them out separately after that, but we wanna be able to make sure that we're on time to do them together if we can.
Because we would lose the
Be-
$83,000 savings this year if it's not done
wait,
in that
can't
manner.
can't we reach out to Ernesto now?
He's
Can
coming
we-
in, they're coming in to
Okay.
talk about something else, so
So
we
I
can
don't have
ask.
my notes, and Tim is
Oh,
not
there.
here, as I expressed.
Another week they gotta kill us.
Exactly.
Well, that's the point, it will, because if you don't refinance them together, and if we don't do it on Tuesday, then we miss the time period, we'll miss the November 15th deadline, and then we will not realize the $83,000
We
savings.
don't do it by September 4th?
Yeah, because then there's what is this, 30-day estoppel
You got
period?
Yes, so what you need to do is you need to keep these both separate for the purposes of making sure you hit the deadline for the refunding and if we can do the street lighting at the same time, get the process going, and then just before the deadline is, if something happens and we decide we're not doing the street lighting bond, then you don't do it.
Right.
But as long as we're set up to do it in time, the board still has the authority to say, bond for the refunding, but don't bond for street lighting, because it doesn't give us the savings we originally
Yeah,
thought.
I agree with bonding for
I
the
agree with that.
refunding, of course, that resolution should go up. But I just wanna make sure that the numbers that were quoted, that everything is included in that cost. Because in speaking to Brookhaven Lighting, there were a lot of things that weren't included in the cost.
I have,
So-
I have two questions.
Yes.
One, I hope I'm allowed to talk. This bonding will be done through the special district?
Well, everything's guaranteed by the general fund, but yes, the bondings, are the liability of the district that it belongs to.
Okay.
So for instance, the refunding, there's some CPF, whatever it is,
Well,
that's gonna go over those districts.
talking about the
This is
bond.
gonna be paid directly by the street lighting district.
Okay.
So the street lighting will,
So whether it's a
assuming
million
these
or a
numbers are
million-
right,
Five,
yes,
Whether it's a million or a million, whatever we need to bond
Yes.
this, whether,
yes.
okay.
I think we're all good anyway, cause I see they're coming up on the agenda, so we can,
I mean, if we have to, we can always have them come maybe, because we have our board meeting on Wednesday, because it's Labor Day.
Mhm.
So maybe we could even do a special work session on Tuesday morning, if we need to hit the Wednesday deadline. If we need additional questions, or if you have questions you wanna ask engineering.
Are we having work session next Thursday?
As of right now, I'm planning on it.
Okay, so we could always have them come in on Thursday and discuss it and have a special town board
Meeting
meeting after
Wednesday,
that to adopt it. It would be a day later.
Yeah, the town board, cause when it's a holiday week,
I'd just like to try and give notice to people, obviously, for special
guess we
board
gotta
meetings more
have
than
it,
24 hours if I can.
Yeah, and I think the day after Labor Day might be a little bit difficult because people are putting their kids back in children. I know, I mean, their children back in school. I know I am.
Right.
So
But
I
luckily
think,
we do live stream, and we
Yeah.
are online, so if there are additional questions, they can always be vetted out as well.
so I think Thursday, having them come in to discuss it with the entire board, and then Thursday afternoon, and in the interim, I can,
We
Yeah.
can sort it all out. Bill's gonna send
Great.
us a timeline.
thank you.
be here till they wanna ask.
thank you. Are they here yet?
Already
They
in the
said they were 2
building.
minutes away. Do you guys want to
Thought I saw them walk by.
start resolution?
Yep, let's do that. While we're wait to go on to the next items, we can move forward with the resolutions. Everybody's got their computer up?
No.
Yes,
Oh, you know what, here they are.
You said I saw them out
Okay.
in the hallway.
and I just put it away.
Is Ernesto here too?
Yes.
Thought I saw him go by. Good morning.
How are you?
Morning.
Good, how are you? I can't get this done.
Is Ernesto coming in also for this, or you want?
Yeah, he just said he was.
Yeah, we don't have to wait.
Okay. So this is discussion for dumpsters, trailers. I know that there has been some conversation going on about allowing the, changing some of the requirements for what was coming in, to be able to dump in our yard waste area. So, it was the dump trailers. Was that the question?
It's actually
The
more
hydraulic trailer.
hydraulic trailers, and then it's gonna lead to double axle vehicles. Anything that a commercial vehicle could use.
Yeah, so I have heard this a few times, and I think, Jim, you probably have too.
Oh,
over the
have
years.
I ever?
Because there are people that have large lawns that have the metal dump trailers that when they mow their lawn, they throw the clippings into the trailers. It's residential clippings that they wanna dump at the yard waste facility, and because it has a hydraulic lift on it, the yard waste facility will not take it. So, I don't think that's fair. I think that residents should be able to dump there. I think if they're coming in 2 or 3 times a week, or, once every 2 weeks, and I think we have the same person at the yard waste facility, so they can identify who's dumping commercial clippings versus who's dumping residential clippings. But I think that we should allow our residents to do that, especially with our older population that have the ride-on mowers and that wanna just dump it into the back of a trailer and then come, and instead of unloading it with a shovel, they could come and just dump it into the yard waste facility. That's all.
This has been an issue for a while, back
my
and
God.
forth, so
Yes.
Oh my God, that was
Do
as
you
simple as
wanna-
hydraulic trailers.
let us know, I mean,
Sure.
you're,
So we've tried this twice before already,
We have.
2 times, and it was an absolute nightmare both times.
And what is the name?
The nightmare is, you really can't keep commercial vehicles out. Once you open the door to the dump trailers and to 4-axle vehicles, or 2-axle vehicles rather, all the commercial people are gonna find a way in. And right now, we are right at 3,000 yards. That's our working volume. If we go over 3,000 yards, we're gonna be in a registration, which, opens us to frequent inspections.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Second thing is, just hearing this will probably put us over 10,000, which is where we were hovering around at one point. If we go over 10,000, we're gonna have to have an operating permit. O&M plan, stormwater plan, visits, quarterly reports.
My only concern is this true? These people that have these hydraulic trailers, you think that because they have a hydraulic trailer, they're not putting it in the yard waste? They certainly are putting it, they're just not using their hydraulic trailer, they're bringing it other ways.
Right.
So, it's not that you're gonna get more volume because they're using the trailer, they're bringing it there anyway.
They're bringing it there anyway, but you're gonna start getting commercial people who are
Is there a
coming down.
mechanism, and I know it's paperwork, whatever, is there a mechanism when you come get your dump permit, that every needs one of those? That if you have this type of apparatus, that you get some sort of card, that you're only allowed twice a year to use it, or whatever, and they punch the card or something, is there some way to govern it that way?
We haven't tried the card punch, but I can see people backing up at the gate. You know, if we have to punch a card for everyone who comes in.
Well, no, just people, I don't think you're talking about, I don't know how many there are out there, I know
I
a few
think-
people have called me, but I don't know where.
I think, you know, I mean, I think is if you're saying that the reasoning that you're doing this, if somebody's a handicap and unable to do that. Is there a way if somebody has is a certified handicap sticker?
Been there, done
And
that.
what happened with that?
We allowed doctor's notes, and people made a sham out of it.
So what happened?
They would get a doctor's note that they had a bad, rotator cuff, or their labrum was torn, or something like that. And yet here they are with this gigantic vehicle that's loaded. So how did you load it?
So my question is, when you have allowed these trucks before
Uh-huh.
to come in, you know, there was commercial dumping going on?
Absolutely.
And
So-
since this has been in place,
Rampant.
and since this has been in place, that has not
No,
occurred?
Totally clamped down on that.
And this yard
And
is
that's
not,
why we're at 3,000 yards right now, which is where we should be. We shouldn't be over 3,000 yards. There's no reason for it.
So are they commercial plates that are coming in with these trailers attached to them? Because you can identify what's a commercial plate versus what's a resident plate.
There's a new plate that comes out for all pickup trucks now that's commercial.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's gonna be dicey figuring that out.
But I like Jim's idea about maybe a card where, you know, they can only dump every 2 weeks when they mow their lawn every week, or every 2 weeks, or whatever it is.
Well, a
but-
trailer is for spring cleanup and fall cleanup.
right, it's twice a year really for the major cleanups.
Kidding me, right?
They
Well,
were
that's when
coming
I would load my
but
trailer
they were
up.
coming
That's when
in
you
several
would- they
times a
will be
week,
there
right?
all summer long.
Do you feel that they're actually bringing commercial waste not in?
Not all of them, but it doesn't take many. If a commercial vehicle comes in, you know, once a week and brings a couple loads in, it adds up, one vehicle.
Sure.
Well, that's what I'm saying, they shouldn't be there twice a week if they have a trailer.
But that's not what occurs.
No,
But
Jimmy-
Jim's idea would work.
punch cards,
Well, it would just be, I think what Jim is saying is if somebody somebody would then, with a dump trailer, could then get a permit to dump twice fall and spring season?
Well,
For only
whatever-
yard waste
whatever we
and
do-
only
whatever we
one
decide,
entry.
Right, whatever we decide.
I think that's a
But
great
it
idea.
would be proof of residency, one thing, it would be proof of that, you know, that it's residential waste, which is the most important thing. But I still think volume-wise, that those that have these trailers are still dumping up there, they can't use their trailers, so they're either,
not as much though, just because it's so convenient.
But our numbers, our waste is down.
Waste is way down ever since we implemented this. We went from almost 10,000 to 3,000.
First of all,
we wanna
I'm
encourage
gonna
it, don't
go,
we wanna
I,
encourage it?
I,
Well, things
I
were out-
trust you
Things were
guys.
out of control. We
you
had the
guys
police
are
up there.
advising against changing this, and things are going well, I don't know what, I mean, my understanding is it's only a few people that are requesting this, and I don't think it's worth changing what's already working for it. I mean, we have to make hard decisions as leaders, and sometimes we have to look at the big picture and make the decision
Yeah,
that's
but
best
we're also,
for everyone.
we're also problem solvers, and that's what we get paid to do as
Yeah.
well.
No, I
So,
understand
when
that,
a constituent
but-
comes up to you, especially a constituent that pays $18,000 a year in property taxes, and they wanna dump their stuff, we try to get some mechanism for us to talk about it and see if we can make that happen.
But it sounds like this opens up a
Right,
can
but
of worms.
I was gonna say, do you solve a problem for a few people and then create a problem?
Well,
for
that's why we're having this
That's what,
discussion.
that's what it
For the
seems.
I'm not gonna
majority.
blankly say, well, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing it for a few people, and then it just opens up bigger problems for
No, we're
the
trying to
town.
make it available for the few, so we don't open up the floodgate. I don't know whether there's an easy answer to it, but I don't know. It's
Do
still-
we get a lot
it's
of
worth a
people
discussion.
for, just come for spring and fall, or is it a weekly thing for most people?
Oh, no, I, absolutely, spring and fall is, head and shoulders above everything else, but there's a steady stream during the summer.
Do you feel if we opened it up for spring and fall with the dump trailers for one drop-off per season, do you think that that would put us in a precarious situation there?
It would do one thing, if Crown could keep up with it, and they might give us issues or problems because of the increased volume, and say they want more money, or some other type of compensation.
What if we just limited it to whatever month, you know, the month of April and the month of November?
Right.
That you could do it only in those 2 months, and, you know, for whatever, the last week of those particular 2 months, you could allow the dumps to come in for people for their spring and fall cleanup, and they would just know to schedule their schedule around that if they wanted to avail themselves of it. And then this way, there's not this tug of war back and forth with the attendant there having to
Right.
make decisions, because I
Well,
know
it
it can
still is.
get a little,
I would still ask for ID.
heated.
Right.
Well, no, they still have to have the ID, they still have to have the permit, they still have to, you know, that you still would be able to only do it that one time, you couldn't come back and forth all week.
Right.
Doing it would be
Right.
once, and that's it, that you're permitted. You'd either get a card with your permit to do it, and you turn that card in, when your card's gone, your card's gone. If you don't have the card, you can't come in.
So when they take out the yard waste permit, it's a formal permit, right, that they have to sign, and then they get the permit where they can dump at the yard waste facility?
It's a
Stick it in
piece
the
of
vehicle.
paper and you get it.
So maybe we could even put an affidavit, what they have to sign and have notarized at the bottom, that says that this is residential waste from their home.
It's fine with me, I don't know if they're gonna
Otherwise,
do
we
that.
rescind their yard waste permit.
You know, if they're coming a steady stream in the summer, that's commercial.
Yeah.
So,
I
if
mow my
you,
lawn
what do
once a
you
week.
think about the idea of just doing a few weeks in the fall and a few weeks in the spring for fall cleanup and
No, I
spring
mean,
cleanup?
that's,
Would
again,
that
that's,
work?
again, that's fine, but we're probably gonna run into issues with our vendor.
So can you look into that, Randy,
Yeah.
and we can get,
Sure.
we can discuss this again?
I mean,
find out.
I bag my grass, you know, and, you know, of course I have my spring cleanup and I have my fall cleanup, which is more. I borrow my friend's trailer, it's not hydraulic, and I go dump it. But every week when I mow my lawn, I put it in a couple of those brown bags and I take it there. So I mean, that's not commercial, but I do dump every week.
But I don't think that's a problem. I think it's the volume of these larger sized trucks being filled up and coming in every week.
But
And I think,
I think the only problem is whether it's somebody gonna, I understand your concern, whether somebody's gonna say, all right, well, wait a second, I can start a commercial business now, because I can.
well, I
Well,
think,
it's
I think
going
that
that
that's,
far.
I think that this issue has been brought, you've done this twice already. And both times in doing what we're suggesting to do, which is to open it up again, that both times it came back to the same issue. So I think, you know, kind of opening up to what it used to be brings us
Well-
back to the same place that we've been twice already, but I think
And it is
coming
a-
to
and
a
you're right.
compromise in between,
And it's a
I
catch
think.
22, because here you got these big areas in Calverton, these big areas in Wading River, and these big areas out in Jamesport, which are heavily wooded.
Mhm.
And now you've got, you know, we're trying not to collect leaves, we narrowed the window on leaf collection, because we don't wanna overtax the burden of even the highway department's having a hard time where to dump their leaves. And so now we're kinda stuck, you know, but these heavy areas in Wading River, people are, like, well, I'll clean up my own stuff, and I won't put it out in the street, because they only come 1 week, and the leaves have been falling for 3, so they wanna dump it themselves, so it is, you're right, it's a catch 22.
So will you check with Carter
Sure.
to see if maybe if we did it, like I said, for a fall cleanup and a spring cleanup, the ability for them to come in and with a larger vehicle to
For a
be able to.
month?
for-
Each
for-
time?
can do it for a month, can
month
do it
or
for,
a
you
few
know, they can
weeks.
come in during the month, but they'd still have just the one time.
For April.
I think that's a great compromise, and if it doesn't work, then we just
And we're still
peel
giving
it
out,
back.
we're still giving out free bags, so, I mean,
Oh,
your
that's
regular
right, it's
carder will
every
take
2
your
weeks
bags.
now.
So let's
So-
talk about
Yeah.
that.
I mean, the thing we haven't brought up is that the sanitation schedule has changed, so now there's an unlimited pickup every 2 weeks. Every resident is able to put out as many bags of yard waste as they would like every 2 weeks.
Certain times.
No,
That,
all year
that,
long.
that little brown thing isn't on my calendar.
No.
I had to look at the window when I put my leaves out.
Every
So
2 weeks
You
now.
can put your new calendar up.
Oh, no,
We-
it's there,
we've-
it's about that thick, 'cause I got like.
We've
some
had
leaves
it,
on
we've had it out for, since February, we put out a revised schedule
I
for
saw that.
sanitation. So it's about every 2 weeks. There's an unlimited pickup at every residence.
Well, that
in the
sounds
sanitation.
reasonable.
Oh, I know, that's where I put my brown bag, I don't put grass, because I don't
So-
take grass, but I put my leaves.
What's happened, well, the 3 years it took us to rein this into being a nice streamlined operation to get rid of some of the outliers and, little problems that we've had at Yard Waste. So 3 years it took to get us to a nice streamlined operation. And since we've changed the sanitation schedule, there's a steady stream of waste that's generated. So bringing an unlimited amount of dump trailers up there, that would exacerbate a problem that we may not have experienced in the past either. Cause in the past, it was 10 weeks out of the year, there was an unlimited amount of stream going up there by the Carter.
Okay,
Now it's 22 weeks of unlimited throughout the entire year,
our carter brings them up there,
yes.
Yeah, that's a good point, because
so our stuff's winding up there anyway.
in the past, we only
Right.
ground
But we
once a
can
year.
control it.
Right, so that there's not that much there, so we go over the limits, because you have it with the carter takes it and dumps it on a regular basis, cause
Twice a month.
you know what's coming in.
And we're grinding
not past the
constantly now
3,000
too,
limit.
we didn't used to grind
Yeah,
constantly.
whether our carter brings it up there, or the guy throws in his trailer and takes it up there, it's still getting there, ain't it?
But this is what they're saying, they kinda know volume-wise what is coming in from
Project
the
a
number
little
of
bit better.
residents that are here and the yard waste that's generated.
And I'm saying, if I'm doing my yard cleanup in the spring and in the fall, I wanna bring it all off my property and get rid of it. And if they put it all to the curb, is the carter gonna pick it all up at once, all the,
As long as it's packaged correctly.
He's
it's an
done good,
unlimited
I
amount.
put out 20 bags one time, and I got a small yard. I had to
That's-
buy the
that's under
bags,
their
I refused
contract,
take
is
it
to
down
pick
there.
up an
I've only
unlimited
had one person asking for this change. I've had one person complaining about this.
I've had 3.
There's only a
That's
few,
not
I
a
mean,
tremendous
we've gotten the
amount.
complaints as
I think it
well.
opens up,
Really not.
I think it opens up too many problems and we can't always just adjust everything for a small amount.
So if you could check with the carter about doing that possibly the 2 times a year, and this way it would give, somebody the ability to do that, and that may solve the issue.
Yeah, and if it turns into a problem, it's just up the policy, make it a policy
I
instead
mean,
of a law.
the yard waste permit's unlimited.
Oh, I
You can
know
go up
that.
there as many times as you please, as long as you follow the rules.
right. So, if there's only a few people that are complaining, and Jim and I could probably give you the names, and Catherine
Yeah.
could give the one
I
name,
had one person.
then those are the people that would be able to do it, and they would be monitored with their hydraulic trailer, rather than bringing it all to the curb.
Well, the
and then-
hydraulic trailer would just be available
Because-
twice a year for spring and fall cleanup. Other
Right.
than that,
Right.
what we
It's-
have currently existing would be in place.
It's
Because-
not gonna be those 5 or 6 people, as soon as you open this up,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
everyone is gonna go down.
You only have a few people complaining, but once you change it, it's gonna make a
Huge
lot more
difference.
people come, it's gonna be a much bigger problem, that's
Yeah,
why
and that's the point of
we
trying
should
to
not,
Drive home, is that it took us 3 years for the public
know,
to
and why
get all
would
the
we mess with
rules
a good
up in
thing?
order.
I don't know, having negotiated the contract 3 times, the garbage contract over the last 10 years, I just see the costs of the carting going up, up, up. So the more people put out at the curb, the more our garbage contract is gonna go up, 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 the more every single resident throughout the town is gonna pay.
Jody, it doesn't go up because of that, it goes up because of things like glass that you can't dispose of anymore, well, no, yeah.
But as soon as, I'm concerned about the garbage contract and the years coming up ahead, when it gets harder and harder to get rid of garbage. So, yard waste being one of the things that I'm concerned about, and I thought that we had reached a good compromise where it would be in the spring and in the fall, and if it's only a few households and they have to prove that they're a resident, it's not a commercial truck, and that they're dumping, from their own yard. I mean, I know these people that have spoken to me about it have big yards. And they have a dump trailer that they want to bring and just have a hydraulic dump it in, that they don't have to be there picking it up, walking, dumping it, going back to the truck and back and forth and back and forth. So that's the only thing that's really prohibited, is the dump trailers with hydraulics. Regular trailers are,
Or anything with two axles.
And
right,
it's because the volume that they carry.
right.
Yeah.
So,
And the
you guys have lived with this for years, you've been back and forth with it. I, you know, think your point on this is very valid. And I think, you know, if you could just check to see if we could do it the 2 times a year, I think that might be,
Right.
a solution.
They're grinding all year
All year
round now.
Yeah.
When before it was just once a
Right.
year.
Yeah.
So things have changed.
Well, they're
Since we tried
grinding
it
all
last
year
time.
long because of the
Go back to
pickups
Barney
every 2
Tool
weeks.
today.
Yeah,
And actually putting it out every 2 weeks is reasonable already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that the ones with these big trailers that have these acre and a half of land that have to clean it, go every week. I just can't pick.
and I don't know that they're mowing their lawns themselves either.
Right.
You know, they have a service that comes in and mows their lawn and puts it in a big truck and then wants to go to our yard waste
Yeah,
and dump
I
it,
can't
so
imagine
but if
going
it's,
every week to dump
it's,
it,
you
right.
know.
Commercial, then it's not accepted in our yard waste facility. So, I know the guy that mows my lawn is in a commercial truck with commercial plates, with commercial trailer plates, and if he pulls up to the yard waste facility, they're gonna tell him, sorry, you can't dump here.
Right.
So, these are residential homeowners that have trailers
Any
for
parking,
quads
stuff
or for, you know, whatever, that they can put their yard waste into the trailer. Anyway, it's something that's been brought up to me and something that I've been looking at with code revision when I was liaison to code revision, and now I've asked for it to be brought up again. So I'm glad that we discussed it, hopefully we can find some resolve. It's my job to bring these things forward, as I hear from constituents that they have, you know, problems with things that are in the code. And I've done that, so if it's decided upon that we are not doing anything, at least I brought it to the forefront.
What is the status of the parking lot for Crown, across the street from the animal shelter? Do we
Yeah,
have a reso on that?
I think, I don't know that the trying to think, I think we passed that resolution already. I thought I know I saw it, it was either last
Yeah,
time,
I was
I
gonna
think
say
we
it has to
passed,
be
I
close.
think we passed it last time, so
Okay,
I
good.
think we can check with the attorney's office, but I'm pretty
I'll
sure
go down there
I'm
and
pretty
talk
sure
to
that went through already. One other thing though, what we were discussing before this was the street lighting. Jody did have some questions that she would like to have answered, and she would like Tim to be involved in, but part of the, pricing that you did for the street lighting, she was questioning if that included whether, the removal of the lights and the dumping of the lights, in the $35 fee, and, I guess you have a question for
So it's-
Vanessa to look into, whether there's other charges in there that we haven't accounted for,
Right.
that it will cost more than what you had projected.
But I don't have all my paperwork, and I don't have all my questions, so I asked if we could hold off on this until next week for work session, to where we could be fully prepared, and then we could have a special town board meeting next Thursday to either adopt the, refunding and the bonding for the lights, or
Well, this
not.
is where the issue becomes, because we're going through with the bonding, whether
Yeah,
we do the bonding
We
or not.
authorized it already.
Okay, Jody, can I finish now?
Mhm.
But what Jody is saying, she thinks that the cost of the project will be 1.5 million, not 1 million. And if that, we would have to change what we go out bonding for. So that means that we could not put that as part of the bonding issuance now, because we'd have to go out for an additional bonding, and not putting those together as we go out for the bonding and refinancing will be an additional cost to the town. So, you know, I think if we could either maybe have you come on Tuesday when we have the board meeting to address these issues.
We have a board meeting Wednesday.
Wednesday. So on Wednesday to address these issues, so we can move forward with the resolution or not. But my question is, can you get, the town board the list of questions, and Ernesto the list of questions, so he's prepared to answer them?
Sure.
Okay.
It was just the labor cost. It was $35 per
Yeah,
fixture.
I can answer it now. It's
Okay.
30,
And,
it's a flat fee of $35.
Right, so that would be, and from what I'm hearing from NIPA, is the disposal costs and the removal and replacement is about $77 to $78 per fixture. So that's common throughout streetlight replacement. I've spoken to Brookhaven, and I've spoken to,
Yeah, we spoke to Brookhaven, they assured us that their $35, the part of the fee, the vendor that does the work, part of his fee is to collect the, old fixtures. He dumps them, he recycles them, all on his own, as well as the bulbs.
okay, but where is he dumping them and recycling them? Is he dumping them and recycling at the Brookhaven landfill, where Brookhaven benefited by a lower labor cost because they were dumping
He
and
gets
they
a
were being
metal-
dismantled at the Brookhaven landfill?
He gets a metal dumpster, scrap metal dumpster.
Okay,
His choosing.
so
he
I
makes
just
money
want,
off it.
I just want
Yeah.
confirmation that it's $35 per fixture, essentially. And then there were other things such as fuses and underwire lines that you don't discover that the light is not working properly because there's a break in the line beneath the ground. Like, all of those changes that could occur with change orders in the original contract that are potential, that will potentially increase the cost, that's all. But because if there's an increase in cost, then the savings are not as real. So that's why I wanna know what it costs.
And if there's an issue with the pole itself, that still falls under just our regular street lighting and our guys there. That wouldn't be part of, if something isn't working because it's not working, then that falls underneath. If it's in need of repair, that's our street lighting, that's our town employees that address that.
Well, I know that there was trenching that was done in contracts and change orders for other contracts, and I'm just concerned about that. And we need to be prepared to have our street lighting division there to trench and repair a line underground, if that's the case, while the light is being replaced. That's all, just concerned about potential change orders.
Okay, I mean, you just wanna send me a question?
Using photo cells, I'm also concerned about the, photometrics. Because if the lights are too far apart and there's no connectivity in the light coming down to the sidewalk, like, we need to address that also. We may have additional poles if the photometrics don't work. And I didn't see any engineering study discussing photometrics when it came to this contract.
This is the same specs that we have for the lights we are currently replacing.
Yeah, they're just an LED equivalent of
It-
what's up there now.
So the photometrics
There's
are
an-
the same.
Yes, so if there's already an issue, this is not going to correct it, but the intention is to
Energy
apply
savings.
the same amount of lumen output and distribution on the street surface as what's currently out there.
And that's what we've been doing for the third that we've completed already.
And the
So it's the
third,
same
yeah.
specs for the third we've completed already, that we've been moving forward with the past couple of years.
Understood, just if
You
we
must
do
have
it,
You must have the $35 flat fee in writing, so can
Yeah, I
you
mean, I had the Brookhaven
forward
contract
that
that we're
to
piggybacking.
Jody, and then
Jody.
she can see that.
but there are change orders that came in after, Catherine. So a change order is something that's above and beyond the contract.
And there is
You would
contingency.
help us tremendously if you would send us an email with your questions once you get them.
Yes, because if we do it, I
Because
wanna
that'll
make sure we do
allow
it
us
right.
to be prepared for whatever you wanna ask.
Yes, if we do it, I wanna make sure we do it right, and if there are gaps in the photometrics where there is no light on the sidewalk, I think it should be addressed, especially downtown, seeing as we're trying so hard to revitalize, and that is one of the complaints that we get, is that it's dark.
Okay, so
I'm not
town
sure
board,
I'm getting more and more confused, because it's getting more and more. Right now, we're doing in-kind replacements of lights we have.
That's the
It's not a
intention.
full blown engineering report of where we might need more
Right.
additional light.
Right.
Main Street, I agree with you, I almost ran somebody over the other day, there was in a crosswalk, I didn't even see him.
Right.
It's just too dark down there, I don't like the
I
lights at all.
I'm not gonna say.
We've had this discussion.
I'm telling you, wait, am I wrong?
I've never had a problem down there, ever.
Well, I got pretty good eyes, they were right there near Sonny's walking across, I said, whoa, hey, hit the brakes,
Well, that's a separate, you
Never
know.
saw 'em.
Yeah,
um,
that is,
we-
this,
But that's a separate issue.
Yeah, we've tried to address that with the vendor, and we're working with the manufacturer to come up with
It
a
is dark.
solution for that particular area.
We should go out at night instead of staying home.
but this is just a
That's how I know.
continuation of what we've been doing. It's just condensing it to a shorter time frame to realize the savings earlier rather than later. So that's really what this whole, issue is, of what the plan is to do with this. It's not, these other issues obviously can be addressed as a separate item.
Yeah, but the whole thing, you're right, we just wanna make sure that if we're gonna bond, that we should bond enough.
Exactly.
So when does Tim
There's
come
always
back?
contingencies.
He'll be back, I'm not sure. I'm hoping that, everything's okay and that he'll be back next week, but, if time is of the essence, until I'm comfortable with it, I can't support it, but it sounds like you have the rest of the board's support if Tim can't be here.
Well, I'm just saying, if you have questions, send
I will
them.
email them to you,
Okay.
yes, as soon as I get out of here.
All right,
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Sounds
You're
like
the
a
best.
plan.
When can I
Bye,
bring my
guys.
dump trailer down?
I'm gonna be waiting down there for you.
You sing a good enough melody, you can come right
I'd like to bring it down there, but I might have it
John,
on
is
Main
Jeff
Street.
here?
So bad.
Okay. The next item, we have legislation on new car storage.
Is this your pen, Bill?
That was
Your
mine.
little Hyatt thing?
He borrowed it from me.
So that you guys have, when you're going through resolutions, this has something to do with,
No, we don't take resolutions off.
so
We
just
get
pass
prepared
those
or not.
around, thank you. This is in addition to what's in the packet, so just that you know, because it has something to do with the,
Discussion.
yeah,
Okay.
I believe, possible.
Thank you.
So I know that we do have, we've had a work session about, allowing for car storage in industrial A, zoning. I know it has been part of code revision, to discuss the additional car storage in A. I believe they also have discussed C. This is the first that we're seeing here as, adding, have both A and C, and I'm just, has this gone to code revision, or is this out of code revision? How is this?
Honestly, we've discussed this in code for
Since
over a year.
January of 2018,
Yeah, well, there were a
is
lot
when
of
I saw the
issues.
first time it come out.
We were working hard, certainly we wanna work with the car dealerships, you know, they're good neighbors to us in Riverhead, but at the same time, we've been really taking a look at this because we don't wanna see a sea of cars.
Right.
So we've been trying to find the appropriate solution. I'll let you guys.
And the industrial C goes from, just so you know, goes from Edwards Avenue all the way over to Grumman.
It's a very big.
It's a very large area.
Including both of these areas is a big swath, and also down by Pulaski Street.
Very small area down there.
Yeah,
Which is
So-
why we went to industrial A.
So these would be by special permit if it was permitted in industrial C, which would require a public hearing, and we would hear from any concerned neighbors, correct? Cause it says
The
specially
proposal
permitted
has always been
uses.
special permit,
Yeah.
from the outset, we've always
Yes.
said it should be by a special permit,
Terrific.
yeah.
But this would allow it in all areas, so.
I would allow it in industrials, all of industrial C,
And
yeah,
industrial A.
and industrial A.
And
if-
we
By-
were
if the
trying to
board-
limit it to industrial A.
Right, but I think it should be permitted in industrial A and C, provided that we have a public hearing and we hear from concerned neighbors. And if the neighbors are concerned, even after the setbacks that you've imposed here, then we don't approve it.
Can you just describe the difference between industrial A and C?
Industrial A is supposed to be the more heavy industrial, manufacturing, chemical, intense industrial uses. The C is supposed to be more benign, if such a word coexists with industrial. Like a warehouse, a dry use, things of that nature. So that's the predominant use.
I think it's a pretty benign use, storage of new cars.
And the difference in lot coverage in these resolutions is what, as opposed to what would be permitted in A and C?
There's no differences.
So this could be.
Whatever they're permitted today, under the existing,
But what's the lot coverage for industrial A and C permitted?
I did not bring the table of uses.
We could
Lot
do the same
coverage?
thing with the lot
Yeah.
coverage for the,
Can I just have
I
my
don't
question
know the
answered,
answer to that answer right off the top of my head.
I'll look it
but,
up.
Yeah, I didn't bring my computer,
but we could do the same thing with the lot coverage as we did with the solar panels, where we look at the field rather than
Correct.
the actual lot
Well,
coverage.
I think.
I'll provide that information.
One of my concerns is to, because this is a change, and it's a change that we're allowing for, so that they can do car storage. I think to do A and C at the same time is allowing this permitted use in a very large portion of town. I think to maybe start out with the A, would be a more prudent way to go, before we do A and C, because as you said, Jeff, on Middle Country Road, it really is from Splish Splash all the way to Grumman, there, whereas A is just a small portion of that before you hit
Between
Split.
east of Edwards and.
Right, and so it doesn't allow as much, but my other concern really is the industrial C that is in, off of Pulaski Street over there. That is a fairly big area of industrial C over there that is very close to, residential, small businesses, things like that. And I would like to see that developed in a different manner than just car storage. I think that as we revitalize, I think having businesses be able to locate there is just a better use of the property there.
I think-
Let me just say,
Sure.
we've been working on this a long time. We've explored every option, we've met with the car dealerships. I feel like we had gotten in a good place with this, and, you know, we've worked on this in code, and I really don't wanna reverse, and, because one person is calling up someone and complaining. I think we're already at a good place, and, I'm not willing to do that. I think it should go back to code and we can discuss it, if you wanna come in and talk to us in code about it.
I think the original came out of code, I would like to see this go back to code also.
I think car storage is more apt and more appropriate in C than it is in A.
Me too.
We're not storing gas tanks and gas tankers, we're storing brand-new cars.
So you're
Right.
gonna be driving and
And
just
I'm not
seeing
gonna
cars
jeopardize,
everywhere.
you ain't gonna see it from your house, I ain't gonna see it from my house. It's gonna be screened, it's an industrial land.
But I care
not
about the whole
residential area.
town. I care about how the whole town looks.
Yeah, I get it. But I still think it's more appropriate in C. You wanna limit it to not in Pulaski Street area, I understand that, but Edwards Avenue, I mean, and I don't know who's complaining, I really don't know who's complaining. All I know is that there is, these car dealerships on 58, that for some reason, it looks like Smithtown, but that seems to be the mecca for car dealerships, as now is Route 58. And they're under edicts through big national corporations to have a certain amount of stock. They just don't have the land.
I agree, and
I don't wanna jeopardize their business or anything else, I mean,
Well, that's why
so
we
we
were-
have to come, I still think, and I don't have a dog in the fight, but I think A is less, I don't think it belongs in A. I think A is for other,
Well, A is
heavier uses.
A is a very small area there, it really is, from
Edwards Avenue
Ed-
East.
it's not even at Edwards Avenue, I don't think. I don't think it
On the
goes as
west
far as
side of it.
Edwards Avenue. Is it as far as Edwards Avenue?
Yeah, sure it
But
is.
it's a very
On the-
small,
on the
a very
east side.
small contained area.
so was
which
that the reason A was picked, because it was confining them to a certain,
Craig's
Yes.
can't we
working this
confine them through legislation in industrial C areas?
I think it needs to go back to code revision then for a complete, for a review on both A and
If you were
C.
that location, then we could say industrial C area is located within whatever.
But then I think it
Well,
needs,
that's sort of where we started in January. I looked at what the first discussion was, we actually, the proposal was industrial C, but it had to be located within a quarter mile of BC zoning.
Right.
Where a dealership was located, so we linked
but that puts you out
we
Pulaski.
linked the
Yeah, well,
zoning,
I'm not
we
sure
linked the
about that.
zoning to
Right.
having a business within a
That's why we
quarter mile
Yeah, I don't
location,
think-
so.
yeah, I think- I don't
So
think-
that was quickly changed, and then we went and we had some discussion, looked like on both zoning districts, A and C, in the middle part of 2018, and then in the latter part of 2018, it became industrial A.
Well, we've certainly looked at all angles of this, we've put a lot of work in it, and, I think it should go back to code. I'm surprised that all of a sudden, I feel like one person calls and something gets changed, so.
And A is actually closer to the dealerships than C. That was one of their concerns is the distance.
Okay, right across from each other.
Yeah.
Well, no, it goes further down. A comes before C.
Depends how far you go down to C, C goes a little
Right,
ways
A
down,
comes
but-
before C.
A is generally east of Edwards,
Right.
between the terminus of the LIE, so that little triangular pocket, that's
It goes a little
A.
bit- and it goes a little bit
West
north.
of Edwards is C through
So
to
it
FPL.
is further for the car dealerships, which was a concern that they did raise.
So, if I can say that they are not complaints.
Storage.
They are not complaints, it's desperation by the car dealers because they have nowhere to store these cars. So Catherine, it's not complaints, it's desperation. When it comes to industrial A, it is a small contained area and it doesn't meet the need.
Who said?
Does not meet the need of the dealerships, all the dealerships combined. If you're asking them to form like a condo and all store their cars on one piece of property, there are very few industrial A sites. And I would rather see industrial A used for industrial and manufacturing and jobs. Whereas car storage is not going to be manufacturing, and if what happens at EPCAL is supposed to happen, I see all the industrial A properties along 25 getting filled in with manufacturers in support of what's gonna go at EPCAL. So I don't want to lock up industrial A for car storage when it could have the heavier uses of manufacturing. I think that as we did with the solar code, where we prohibited solar panels in the industrial C along certain areas, we had a map attached to the zoning that said on Industrial Boulevard, on Pulaski Street, all those industrial C, you couldn't do it there.
It had to do with the zip code.
Right, so I think we could do something similar to that, but I think that industrial C has to be an option just because of the availability of the industrial A sites.
And I think the prudent thing is to go back to code, you're welcome to come, and let's have this discussion, but let's not have these resolutions in.
I'm not asking for the resolutions to be in, but I just wanted to discuss it publicly, because I even think code revision meetings should be discussed publicly, or should be open to the public, but,
All meetings are open to the public.
okay, but they're not. So I think that, okay,
Anyone can
so,
come to our meetings,
oh, that's great, okay, good. So,
right?
And I believe the car dealerships did come, didn't they?
all right, so good. So we can have them in here, we can take minutes, we can see who's saying what, and I think that would be great, fully transparent. I think that
Wait a second, there's not a problem with transparency here, okay? This is an in-house committee that has been working hard, this is a topic that we put a lot of time and effort in. You know, one
I'm
person
happy
is
that it's
reaching
open
out
to
to
the
you
public.
and all of a sudden,
Good.
everything's get changed.
It's not one person.
I'm saying, let's go back to code, you come, let's have this discussion, and, let's move forward with it.
Let's have code revision committee meetings in this room and open to the public.
Catherine
And
is the
The
liaison.
meetings are in this room, anybody can come, we're
Okay,
not
great.
discussing any secret topics.
Fantastic.
Certainly not,
Good.
they're public employees, and we've never told anyone they couldn't come in our meetings, correct?
Terrific.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that a certain.
That's not an issue, and that's
Okay.
offensive, so
Okay,
let's
great.
move on from that.
Perfect. So I also think that this legislation should allow for structures to be built in order to be able to maintain the records of what cars are coming in and going out.
I think this
And
has
that's
to go
actually
back to code revision
tax
again.
base.
It's unfortunate,
Warehousing.
because I think that the dealerships really are
Gatehouse.
stressed at this point as to where to put their cars. I think there was a lot of work put into the industrial A zoning. I would've really liked to move this forward so that the car dealership could get some relief, but with the concerns that you're raising, I think that we have to put it back to code revision,
Fine.
and review again, so.
It's the same concerns that I had the last time we discussed it publicly, and it's not in the legislation, which is why I'm bringing it up again.
Well, I have no problem with it going back to code revision to look at an alternative. But you said yourself, and I can understand your thinking, that it was really confined industrial A for proximity and because of the fact that it's confined in a certain area. I think we can still confine things and not confine it just industrial A. That's all.
Small area.
Small area, but I think C is a much better use as far as what's allowed in C than A. I think A is ridiculous. That's like-
I think that, we'll have to, I think you should reach out, and which I know you have to the car
Right.
dealerships. I know that one of their concerns was the distance between a car dealership and where the storage was.
Well, you
So
can't
I
have your
think
cake
that,
and eat it too.
what was that?
You can't have your cake and eat it too.
I understand that, I think that was one of the reasons that A was possibly chosen, but I think you need to go back and ask the question again, that's all.
Well, the code revision committee is a really great problem-solving committee, but we put a lot of time and effort into things, and we'll bring it back to code and take a look at it, and,
Yeah.
that's fine, I'm fine
It
with
took-
that.
How many, it took us, what, 6 attempts to just, figure out what to do with,
Bamboo?
bamboo? So, I mean,
Yeah.
this is a lot bigger thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
all right, so all of that will
Okay.
get pulled.
If I may, just for clarification, when it goes back to code revision, so that we have an understanding and a framework to get it, I hear we're gonna discuss structures, possibly, maybe a limit on that, and we'll discuss zip codes, maybe a limiting factor, like, as you said, we did with the solar farms, permitted within the zip code of Calverton, or something to that effect, just so that we can be efficient and come back with something that is more agreeable to everybody.
And I think, that
Yeah, impervious
it's one, we're discussing one or the other, not both, is that correct?
Yes, A
And
and
then,
C.
and I would also just reach out, I think maybe Catherine, you can, to the car dealerships, because this is obviously, to help those businesses be able to locate somewhere else in town for car storage. So I would just kind of get their input with A and C, because it may just be a moot point, of what we're doing, if we're creating a solution that is not a workable solution.
I don't like what I see across from Homer Stosky there, where they cut in for the Ford dealership.
That's a tremendous
Yeah.
amount of parking.
Yeah, oh my word.
Huge,
Yep.
it's huge.
On the question of
Get that one
structures,
further away.
are we talking about a limited size structure, like something like a shed or a
I
small?
don't know why we
you want-
would, I mean, it's, structures
Well-
are permitted in industrial A and C, so why would we prohibit structures?
The big thing is that we don't want this creeping into something that we're
A
not
car
intending.
dealership.
Car dealership.
Okay, so car dealerships are not permitted,
Correct,
but car storage is.
Correct.
not,
No
it will
repairs.
be
By
if
special permit.
if we adopt the legislation, currently it's not.
by special permit if we
Right,
adopt the
right.
legislation, and the
Right.
special
No
permit.
repairs, no detailings, no fueling.
Yes, that's in here.
None of that.
Yep.
Right.
So, but if you have a big building, then why do you need a big building if we're prohibiting all those restrictions?
Well, it's taxable.
I agree with you. I
It goes
think
in the
that-
tax base.
I think that, you know, are they going to be manned? I mean, are we talking just a storage structure? Or is this, you know, something that's going to, because then you also run into, you know, you got your plumbing and, you know, you get your cesspool, I mean, you're coming into a much bigger site plan for these dealerships, and,
And
Yeah,
from what
and if they're
they're
willing to
telling
do
us, they just want a place to park the cars.
correct.
Right, but then when I brought it up, that said, would you want a building there so that you can have somebody there that's watching the cars come in and watching the cars come out? They said, yes, we would be interested in that.
Well, they weren't asking for that,
Okay, if I
actually,
could
till you brought,
finish.
no, I'm talking. They
Well-
weren't asking for that until you brought it up, just to say.
Okay, so it already prohibits everything that you just discussed, what your concerns would be and what your concerns would be.
I didn't
So-
say the concerns, Jeff just asked me about what size building are you talking
So
about?
I asked that question because I just wanted to kinda have some idea, you know, where we're going, whether there was limitation on the size of the structure.
Well, I think, for me, I would
Given
prefer no
what the use
structure,
was.
no
Okay.
structures, because they weren't asking for that.
They weren't asking for it.
So
Want it
I
now.
think that, you know,
I worked in a guard shack as a security guard, and I had to check the manifest and cars of every single car going out, and it was like a 10-by-10 building.
right.
It's a
So,
shed.
Yeah, a shed,
Like you got, when you want a beach sticker, just stop and get a beach sticker.
Mhm.
yeah, but that's very different than what are you looking for as far as a building to permit?
I'd like the conversation to happen with the car dealerships and ask them what their needs are.
Which we did, but we'll do it again.
I mean, I do, it is worth noting in industrial A, a permitted use is automobile body and fender repair shop, so that's something I think we should consider in code revision. If a permitted use is gonna be auto repair in a sense, it's something that needs to be considered.
We just don't want it evolving into,
Yeah.
What was-
like a junkyard or something like
For,
that.
for A and C, do you know what the lot coverage is for,
Got the table dimensional
I
regulations
can
on that.
get it up very quickly.
I mean, industrial A, you're looking at $500,000 an acre to buy industrial A, whereas you might be looking at a couple $100,000 to buy industrial C, because the uses are much more intense. So, you know, there's gotta be some return on investment as far as what you can do on those properties, and if it's already a permitted use in industrial A, I don't think we should be stripping those industrial uses, but allowing for accessory car storage to accommodate.
so what is the,
So building coverage in A and C is 40%.
right, and we're,
Impervious coverage, which would be a factor limiting, you know, with parking and everything. Industrial A allows 70% impervious, and industrial C allows 60% impervious.
60?
Okay.
60,
right, so,
correct.
but with what we're writing here, we're allowing them a lot more lot coverage than are we allowing them more lot coverage? than
We're not, the proposed legislation doesn't
Doesn't
talk
talk
about
about
it,
it.
so they'd be holding to the dimensional regulations of
Right.
the A and C zoning
And,
districts.
and
We're
that's
not.
what I was mentioning, that code revision, and I made a note of it, that just as we did with solar panels when it comes to lot coverage, it should be a field of where the cars are gonna be
Right.
stored. So you would have a building envelope of which those cars would be stored, and that would equate towards lot coverage.
All right, looks like it's back at code revision.
All right.
I'll bring snacks.
Thank you, guys.
Nothing healthy this time.
All right, we'll move on to resolutions. The first is resolution to retain certified environmental professional. Did you,
One of the concerns was, is that it's kind of open-ended in terms of how much Jeffrey Seaman would charge for his services under SECRA. It's a very large number, it could be like $200,000. I did speak with Jeffrey about it this morning, he's willing to put a cap on it, so he's gonna give it to us. Obviously, between the time I spoke with him and today, he couldn't get it to us, so before the vote on Wednesday.
will correct the resolution to
Yeah.
have a cap on? I'm just not comfortable.
Well, this
leaving
has
it
an
with
hourly
open-
rate, doesn't?
Right, but there's
just
no
have to
limit,
add a cap.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with that without it having a cap
So we'll have that
on
for
it.
you for Wednesday.
So
Okay.
we're going to be hiring an outside consultant to do all of our secret review
He'd
On
be
this-
good
on
on
this-
the EIS,
on this project.
on the one project.
on the one project. Okay.
It is, as part of seeker, you can charge, back to the applicant, for coverage, so that's what we'll be doing here,
Okay.
so that way our staff can
Good.
do other
Get her
things
done,
moving
man.
forward.
Larry the cable guy says, get her done.
Thank you.
Sure.
2 is accepts the resignation of a public safety dispatcher 1.
We saw that coming.
3 is appoints a purchasing agent, we're very happy to have a new purchasing
I
agent come in.
don't know her, Teresa.
4 is authorizes attendance of, Justice, Alan Smith at the New York State Magistrates Association Annual Conference. 5 is authorizes the highway superintendent to attend the 2019 New York State Highway and Public Works Conference. 6 is authorizes, Larry, we've had almost 4 meetings without a resolution for you, you're back. Authorizes, Larry Levy, doing business as On-Site Productions, non-pro-tunc, to provide additional cable cast production services regarding the annual Town of Riverhead, Town of Southampton Cardboard Boat Race on August 10th, 2019. 7 is recalls and rescinds resolution number 708, adopted September 6th, 2017, incorporating certain roads into the Town of Riverhead highway system pursuant to New York State Highway Law, Section 189.
I'm gonna have to really read that, I gotta find out what that is.
Okay.
Kills.
8 is classifies proposed town code to chapter 301, zoning and land development for automobiles, oh, these are the ones we're gonna pull, sorry. So 8,
8, 9, 10, and 11, I believe.
okay.
Oh my goodness.
So 12 is authorizes town clerk to publish and post a notice for requests for proposals for placement of communication cell towers on town property, sewer district, yard waste facility, Osborne Avenue Highway Yard, and Wading River Highway Yard.
Didn't we,
No, we had, that's what we had put it out for bid, we rescinded that bid and we're putting it out for, proposals again. 13 is authorizes purchase of 2019 Hitachi wheel loader for use by the town highway department. 14 is authorizes purchase 2019 dump truck for use by the town highway department.
wow, that's all CHIPS money paying for that? Obviously not.
I'm not sure where it's coming from on there.
Yeah,
Look at the,
what about all the trucks that
No,
he
look at the
got?
fiscal impact statement
Is he
here.
gonna thin his fleet? Cause I know he had more trucks than he needed when he went to,
Jeff was talking to you, what number are you on?
14.
good lord.
This is, it's in the budget.
Yeah, and I believe they're retiring 2 other dump trucks.
Yeah, 'cause I know they bought a bunch of recycled ones that they got for 20 and put 60 into them.
Yep, no, there were some questions about this, I can send you the information if you like.
Good.
So these trucks were budgeted for, is what you're saying?
I know they have money in their budget for it now because they need to replace other trucks.
Okay, but, so they weren't necessarily budgeted for, but it's coming out of fund balance.
The board authorized a
No.
transfer a
Right.
meeting or 2 ago to give more funding to the highway department, so.
Yeah,
Yep, I get it. That's fine, 'cause they last 20 years anyway, so I'm not worried about buying a new one, but I wanna make sure that we're
Me
burning,
either.
that's all.
15 is budget adoption to expend Suffolk County award of the HUD home grant funding. 16 is authorize the supervisor to execute early voting polling place agreement with Suffolk County Board of Elections for the use of the Riverhead Senior Center at 60 Shade Tree Lane.
Early voting, how early?
I think it starts October
9
25th.
days.
It's actually 10 days, so.
'Cause I'm not
not-
gonna be here on election day, I gotta vote now.
Right, so not the Monday before election day, but the 10 days before that.
Do you know what the date on that is?
October,
25th.
it actually says in the resolution, October 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st,
Oh,
November
good.
1st,
So
2nd,
I fly
3rd.
out the 29th.
Right.
Okay, good.
yeah,
And there's
so,
only one polling location for early voting in all of Riverhead, and I think there's only one polling location in each town, because I think this is an unfunded mandate that came down from the state to the county. my
Imagine that.
understanding.
All right.
so early voting starts on October 25th at the senior.
No, 26.
26th.
26th,
Yep.
at the senior center on Shade Tree.
Good,
And we'll post notices about it, they'll be.
good. I
Um,
vote yes.
17 is authorize the supervisor to execute a license agreement with Darkside Productions, Inc., fire prevention safety training course. 18 is approves the chapter 255 application of East End Rowing Institute, it's the 12th annual Snowflake Regatta,
I just want-
2019, which is a
Yeah,
lot of fun.
And I just wanted to say, this is such a cool event.
Oh, yeah.
November 3rd, I hope people come, it's just a perfect thing for our downtown area.
Oh, it's been going on for years, yeah, I love it.
Yep.
Yep, are you gonna be, regattating?
Oh, I have to
You didn't
think
know we
about
signed
it.
you up.
I won't be here,
I'm
but
gonna use the
I'll get
vote
somebody
the
to take a video,
supervisor
that's for
raised
sure, I'll FaceTime it.
19 is approved settlements of the claims made by Patricia Tingle. 20 is refunding bond resolution dated September 4th, 2019. A
Okay.
resolution authorizing the issuance pursuant to section 90 or section 90.1 of the local finance law refunding bonds of the town of Riverhead, Suffolk County, New York, to be designated substantially public improvement refunding serial bonds and providing the other matters in relations thereto, and the payment of the bonds to be refunded thereby.
We talked about that.
21 is establishes sewer flow for Tanger One Riverhead Sewer District. 22 is order approving extension of the boundary of the Riverhead Sewer District to include Jural Extension Property, Suffolk County Tax Map 600-118-3, 2.2.
Is that the one, is that across from Firestone?
That, yeah. It's just the,
Medical buildings.
no, I believe that's, the extension of the boundary is to
Next
the
to
vacant,
Indigo.
the vacant land there, that they have a proposal to put shops in there, so it's, that's where they're getting the sewer to.
Where?
It came through Tanger.
Oh,
And then they hooked up to the back
yes,
one.
yes,
They're
yes.
taking Tanger off of conventional sanitary
Yes, the
systems,
Tanger
Tanger
one,
one of
yes.
43,000 gallons per day, and they're putting it
Nice.
into sewers now.
Nice, love it.
23 is Cromer Avenue Drainage Pipe Repair Budget Transfer. 24 is authorized notice to bidders, rehabilitation of Plant 4, Contract E, electrical upgrades, Contract M, line system replacement, Riverhead Water District. 25 is secret determination regarding proposed improvements to well number 5 in the Riverhead Water District, for the Riverhead Water District. And 26 is secret determination regarding proposed improvements to well number 2 for the Riverhead Water District.
Well, that's not too bad, we're gonna have
And
a quick
I
meeting.
am.
No, we have like 9
No, we
public
got
hearings.
nine
Oh,
public
yeah, that's
hearings.
It's not gonna be a quick meeting.
I forgot, sorry,
Look at
Dennis.
Diane's like.
9 public, and I hope the meeting's over by
Bring your
3:30.
popcorn.
I'm gonna add a couple of resolutions for landmarks plaques for a couple of historic structures that we have in town that have
How
been
much?
deemed landmarks. They're $250 per plaque.
I like that idea, though.
And, so I'm just waiting for Peconic Monument to get me those estimates, and then I can attach that and request that the town board vote on it for a purchase order so that we can buy those
Don't
plaques.
they be over like 200 years old or something? How old do they have to be?
For a landmark?
50 plus.
Yeah.
Oh, the
You
one in
get
my
the
house, I
plaque.
got an old house, built in 42.
All right, so just get those resolutions to John.
Will
please.
do.
For first and second to go in executive session, personnel matters regarding a personnel issue, negotiation of employment contract, matters regarding interviewing for a full-time position, contractual legal advice regarding an easement, litigation, current litigation in the matter of the town of Riverhead versus Baiting Hollow Farms LLC, Baiting Hollow Farm Vineyard LLC, Stephen Levine and Sharon Levine, and, Richard Rubin.
Ruben,
First and second,
go ahead.
Second.
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
So carried.